the Assisted Decision-Making Capacity Bill 2013, agus an dara ceann faoi United Nations Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. The Assisted Decision-Making Capacity Bill ceann cóide is to update and reform our outdated law which governs the decision-making by people whose capacity may be impaired. And it's also intended to replace the Lunacy Regulations Act of 1871, which is currently what most of our system is based on. So what's needed is a clear legal framework which guarantees that citizens with impaired mental capacity have rights, and the 2013 bill would bring the state into greater agreement with international best practice. It's just completed in June, the Dáil committee stage. It's due before the Dáil this week, and I'm asking the Taoiseach, does he expect it to be enacted before the end of the year? On this related question about the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, the Government have given a very clear commitment that they will incorporate this convention into domestic law. But my understanding is that in order to do this, there are other regulations that have to be put in place. Standards that the convention demands include legislative changes on mental capacity, sexual offences, mental health legislation, reasonable accommodation. So it's 5 years on, and I'm asking the Taoiseach, do you expect, that the necessary legislative work will be completed? And realistically, do you expect that the programme for government commitment to sign up to the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities will actually be achieved?
Thank you.
I'm actually glad you raised this particular question, Deputy Adams. I don't say that as a cliché, but it's an important point. Ireland signed the convention back in 2007. But we have been unable to ratify the convention because there are pieces of legislation that are necessary to put through. This morning the government approved the roadmap for those pieces of legislation. The first one is at report stage tomorrow, and that's the Capacity Assisted Decision-Making Capacity Bill, within which is the bill that you refer to. So that's at report stage. It should be finished tomorrow, and then it go off to the Seanad the Ceann. But the other pieces of legislation, it's important to mention them, I think. The mental health legislation, the Department of Health is working on the general scheme of a bill which will be published next year to deal with this. The criminal law replacing Section 5 of the Criminal Law Sexual Offences Act of 1993. Work is underway and enactment is expected in early 2016 in Ceann. And the amendment to Section 4 of the Criminal Law Insanity Act of 2006 to address the issue of discriminatory treatment of persons whose decision-making capacity is in question, and the deprivation of liberty. Legislative clarity required on the issue of nursing homes and similar residential care facilities which have statutory responsibility for a decision that a patient should not leave for health and safety reasons, and what appeals processes should be in place. There is also the question, Ceann, in respect of Section 42 of the Electoral Act of 1992 in relation to the ineligibility of what is known as a person of unsound mind to stand for election, that will require careful consideration, and obviously that's a position that has to be published. But that term is gone, so the legislation needs to be dealt with. So Ireland has taken the view of Ceann that we should publish and deal with the necessary pieces of legislation before you actually ratify, and that's the roadmap that we set out and approved today.
Deputy Bannon.
Thanks very